Reserve has raised interest rates by 3/4 of a percentage point again on Wednesday. This is the US Fed again increasing interest rates. It has said its battle against inflation will require borrowing costs to rise further. Yet, it has signaled it may be nearing an inflection point in what has become the swiftest tightening of US monetary policy in 40 years. The double-sided message left open the possibility the US Central Bank may raise rates in smaller increments in the future, ending its sequence of 3/4 of a percentage point hikes as soon as December, in favor of more tempered increases of perhaps half a percentage point, while also leaving policymakers room to continue pushing rates higher if inflation does not start to slow. Let's listen in to know more.
The committee raised the target range for the federal funds rate by 75 basis points. And we are continuing the process of significantly reducing the size of our balance sheet, which plays an important role in firming the stance of monetary policy. With today's action, we've raised interest rates by 3 3/4 percentage points this year. We anticipate that ongoing increases in the target range for the federal funds rate will be appropriate in order to attain a stance of monetary policy that is sufficiently restrictive to return inflation to 2% over time. Financial conditions have tightened significantly in response to our policy actions, and we are seeing the effects on demand in the most interest rate sensitive sectors of the economy, such as housing. It will take time, however, for the full effects of monetary restraint to be realized, especially on inflation. That's why we say in our statement that in determining the pace of future increases in the target range, we will take into account the cumulative tightening of monetary policy and the lags with which monetary policy affects economic activity and inflation.
And joining us now from the Mumbai newsroom is my colleague Samiksha. Samiksha, a very good morning to you. So the top news coming in early this morning, the US Federal Reserve raising interest rates by 3/4 of a percentage point. While the future may not see such drastic rate hikes, what does it basically mean, particularly for the common man?
Rukma, this is the move is unprecedented of sorts, and that is precisely because the US having a very high inflation rate. This is in fact the fourth consecutive rate hike of 0.7% in the last 4 times, and of course this comes in the backdrop of the high inflation that US has been battling from. Now, what Jerome Powell essentially said in his media briefing was that US will continue to hike rates, and that would continue until it attains an inflation target range of within 2% or maximum of 2%. Now, remember, the inflation rate currently stands at somewhere around 8%, which is the highest that the country has seen in over 40 years. Now, of course, this essentially also means that the debt rate is going to go high for the US people, and not just this, the rate at which the other banks borrow money from the central banks is also going to central bank is also going to get high. So yes, it's the common man that is at the receiving end of all this. But let's see how this pans out, because last night we also saw how Dow Jones as well as S&P tanked after Federal Reserve announced this consecutive fourth rate hike of 0.75%. So let's see how the Indian markets react to this. But on a global sphere, it seems that the recession could be in the offing, given the headwinds that we are seeing, not just the US, not just the economic crisis, but also the Russia-Ukraine war, which continues.
Many thanks, Samiksha, for joining us there and for explaining that rate hike to us. The United States Federal Bank has hiked up interest rates by it's a drastic increase. However, the bank has promised that as early as December. While this step is being undertaken in order in view of rising inflation, future increases may not be so drastic. It's the fourth consecutive rate hike by 75 basis points.